Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for today's discussion on digital democracy, AI, and politics with Jeeyang Baum. My name is Jeeyang Rhee Baum, a faculty affiliate with the Ash Center. I want to start with a few announcements on behalf of the Ash Center. The Ash Center acknowledges the land in which Harvard University sits as a traditional territory of the Massachusetts people. We also recognize the continuing presence of the neighboring Wampanoag and Nipmuc nations. I'd like to thank our co-sponsor of today's event, the Harvard Korea Institute, and the Tech and Public Policy Purpose Project at the Developer Center for Science and International Affairs. Today's discussion is being recorded and will be publicly available on the Ash Center's YouTube channel at the conclusion. Before I introduce our speakers, I'd like to briefly review the program. After my introduction, Jeeyang Baum will give remarks for about 20 minutes, followed by a 10-minute response from Will Ho-Hyun Yu. After that, we will dive into questions from you, the audience. During the Q&A portion, Asia Fellow and Korea diplomat Woo Che will interpret. So finally, it is my pleasure to introduce our featured speaker, Jeeyang Baum, Rajwali Foundation Institute for Asia Senior Research Fellow, who served as a longtime member of South Korea's National Assembly, Minister of SMEs and Startups, and recent candidate for Mayor of Seoul. During her 16-year service in the National Assembly, she was the first woman floor leader and first chairwoman of the Legislation and Judiciary Committee, where she led the corporate governance reforms as well as prosecutorial system reforms. Most recently, she was a research senior advisor at the Center for Strategic and International Studies in Washington, D.C., and in 2020, she was the first Korean minister to serve as the chair of the AMP Committee at the World Economy Forum in Davos. Before she became a career politician, she was the chief of economy division, an anchor for international news and journalist for 20 years at a major TV station, MBC in Korea, with posts for several years in Los Angeles, California. She is a recipient of many awards and has authored 5 books, including the most recent, Gyeongsun and the Great Transformation, published in 2021. Now, she will be joined by Will Ho-Hyun Yu, who will be our discussant today. He's the founder and CEO of Also Politics, a social media platform designed to connect users with politicians. The company's platform provides users with information about daily political news, shares ideas on political issues, and equips users with political awareness tools and a platform to share opinions. Previously, he was a software engineer at Airbnb and Twitter, and he's also the author of several books, again, most recent, Self-Motivated Professionals Make the Best Company, also published in 2019. So with those introductions, let's please join me in welcoming Minister Baum.
Thank you, Professor Jeeyang Baum. Wow, what a turnout. I didn't expect that I will have this many attendees today. Thank you for coming. I am honored. I'm very glad to have the opportunity to host a seminar today with all of you to discuss the future of politics, especially digital democracy, AI in politics. Technologies change the world, and politics is not an exception. Advanced IT technology, which overcomes time and space, is demanding reformation from representative democracy to liquid democracy, which empowers direct participation. Liquid democracy is defined as a form of delegated democracy whereby an electorate engages in collective decision-making through direct participation and dynamic representation. This democratic system utilizes elements of both direct and representative democracy. Recently, France has been grappling with political turmoil due to pension reform. In Korea, there is a heated debate on whether to raise the age for free subway rides for seniors from 65 to 70. If at least 1 million people support a new agenda on the citizens' agenda selection platform, AI can be used to list the reason for and against it. It will allow citizens to choose their stance and vote. For example, like ChatGPT, will then analyze this information and predict the social impact and changes resulting from maintaining the current age of 65, raising it to 70, or a compromise between the two. If a full committee meeting at the National Assembly in Korea or Parliament of another country is held using ChatGPT assist debates, it would not only reduce unnecessary time wastage, but also decrease agenda manipulation or distortion by existing media or the government due to politics bias, fostering a more transparent and fair society. Currently, the key players in Korean bipartisan politics, which is sharply divided between the progressives and conservatives, are not representing the voice of all the public, but only the vested interest of politicians and certain interest groups, resulting in loss of representation of diversified interests. This is changing people's feeling about politicians from disappointment from indignation. This phenomenon also appeared in the US after Trump came onto the scene. Now, the development of technology makes it possible to supplement the shortcomings of representative democracy as the direct communication among the people and convergence of the people's opinion become possible. So, I would like to find a way through an experiment to revive the diversity of opinion more rapidly and more transparently, not confined to the opinion of the left and right extremists, reflecting the voice of all the people in the center, that is centrists who have been keeping silent. Artificial intelligence can process the conversation and discussion among various people in an accurate and speedy manner. If the people's participation is guaranteed in a transparent way, AI is the most efficient way to make the direct democracy possible. Especially ChatGPT, which appeared recently, enhanced such possibility remarkably. An opinion search startup in Korea, the name is Politics, which has approximately 200,000 members made an analytical system which can dissect internet posted comment in 40 seconds or so by clustering the comments in accordance with people's political orientation whenever an issue arises. This system opened a new possibility of implementing digital politics widely by analyzing the opinion of the conservatives and progressives in less 1 minute. Whereas existing ARS public opinion polls take at least 1 day or 2, while telephone interview opinion polls take at least 3 days. Accordingly, it may be inevitable that the existing public opinion poll companies may take a hit. The strength of this system is its ability to absorb diversified opinion in a fast and transparent manner. For example, with only 40 seconds, it provided an analysis that more than half of Koreans, even among the conservatives supporting President Yoon, are skeptical about his recent speech made on March 1st. On March 1st, the Independence Movement Day in Korea, President Yoon delivered a speech about the drastic improvement of Korean-Japan relations. ChatGPT also came up with a summary of the people's opinion about the President Yoon's speech as follows in less than 1 minute. First, about President Yoon's Korea-Japan relationship improvement measures he announced, negative opinion and withheld opinion are overwhelming. Second, even among the conservatives, combination of the negative opinion and the withheld opinion surpasses 50%. And third, there is no strategy regarding the pragmatic Korea-Japan diplomacy issue. In addition, ChatGPT suggests the following solution to respective political parties as to how to expand their support group among the centuries. For example, it suggests a question like this, quote, although I'm not a big fan of Japan, if I have to choose one nation among North Korea, China, and Japan to be on my side to survive in the East Asia, who should we develop our diplomatic relationship with? If you are trying to persuade the people in this type of tone, it appears that you may be able to appeal to the public sentiment. End of quote. With the emergence of ChatGPT, it's time for a change in the party system as well. The political party structure should shift from a vertical pyramid to completely horizontal network. This change signifies a move from a top-down approach to a bottom-up approach. For instance, in parliamentary election in Korea, instead of allowing party leaders or the president to heavily influence the nomination process, we can adopt the US style open primary system. This would grant citizens the power to nominate candidates, making the entry of newcomers into the political sphere more equitable, minimizing the influence of those in power. Instead of a leader who is the first or the last ultimate influential decision maker, the judgment of the group of experts and the people who have the voting power should be interwoven horizontally and vertically, linked as webbed and worked. This will minimize the risk of the dogmatic leader's decision. Of course, improvements are needed to adapt the US open primary system to the digital age with the aim of increasing voter turnout. The purpose of this research will be to develop a policy agenda through the participation of the people with voting power in this digital era. Because the legislative privilege was bestowed only the members of the National Assembly in Korea. Also, its aim is to implement a direct democracy by establishing a separate channel of citizen-initiated legislation in the National Assembly. This is to engraft the diversity, swiftness, and transparency of the digitalization with liquid democracy. It is my intent to develop a platform to digitalize liquid democracy for the first time in the world. My goal is to expand to digitalize liquid democracy worldwide. So far, the online electronic voting has been attempted or implemented in only Estonia and Italy. Also, there was a report that is Denmark. The Synthetic Party, which is an AI-led party, hopes to stand in Denmark's generation election. This is the first step getting closer to digital democracy. However, I would like to go one step further and try to digitalize liquid democracy. For example, liquid democracy may be a way to neutralize the veto power of the UN Security Council because it can collect the public opinion about a certain issue globally and analyze it instantly. The United Nations Security Council still remains divided over how to deal with North Korea's increasing aggression. On March 20th this year, a UNSC meeting fell apart over calling out North Korea as China and Russia, Pyongyang's two biggest supporters, refused to blame the North for higher inter-Korean tension. The 15-member UN body is unable to make a move unless the 5 countries with veto powers, China, France, the UK, the US, and Russia, come to a unanimous decision. However, if the public opinion in the world about the North Korean missile firing is collected and analyzed rapidly through AI, and the outcome is published, it may change the situation. For example, if there is a public opinion platform in the form which implements liquid democracy, utilizing AI via international coalition, the climate crisis issue will not progress so slowly, with the people only giving it lip service. If there is a climate crisis platform in the form of liquid democracy, it will be easier to collect the thoughts of people in the world and to develop alternatives together, pointing out the countries which violate the carbon neutrality free country. I believe that countries present and compare their policies related to agendas which engaging in discussion about what works and what doesn't. Not only at the National Assembly in Korea, but also at the United Nations, there is a need to reform the system based on liquid democracy in light of the digital era. This will enable the UN to wake up from its lethargy. The goal is to make final decision harmoniously by disclosing the discussion process transparently on the digital liquid democracy platform, securing diversity through a rapid analysis. I have a hope that this will contribute to expanding democracy worldwide and improving the international relations among many countries in the world. I strongly believe that this will also contribute to accomplishing the mission of confronting complex international, transnational, global, and competitive issues. If we compare AI in politics to autonomous speakers in terms of industrial development, it can be seen as having reached the second stage of autonomous speakers in politics, which is the advisor in politics from the data politics, which was the first stage. From now on, it will continue to evolve into the third and fourth stage in the future. Like I led the digitalization of SMEs, startups, and self-employed merchants in Korea, as the Ministry of SMEs and Startups, I would like to make a success story of digitalization of politics through this research and experiment at Harvard. I hope that this becomes a stepping stone to expanding the digital democracy and also to improve international relations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bhatt, for sharing with us your vision of digital democracy and your data-driven, which is always good at the Kennedy School. So now at this point, I would like to turn it over to Will for his vision.
Hi everyone, my name is Will. I'm the CEO of Oxford Politics. Oxford Politics is, as introduced before, it's an AI-driven politics platform. And we are trying to bring the AI-assisted look at the democracy into reality. So it's not dream anymore. And a few years back, when I worked for Twitter and Airbnb, I thought that technology could help us out in making better informed decision making. So I was fascinated by how Silicon Valley companies make decisions, and their decision making was data driven. So I wanted to provide data to politics, and not just for politicians to win their elections, but also to everyone participating in politics, including us, right? And so to do that, I just came up with this simple idea. So when there are tons of political news, it's really hard to understand it and catch up with all of those. So I can just, might start a company and hire a bunch of people and to summarize news in a way that is really easy to understand for everyone. And after presenting them, ask also intriguing and engaging questions to them so that they can express their political opinions. And after collecting all those answers, we can also visualize the data so that policymakers and also media can take a look and then write a report or help them to make better policies. With this whole process, I want to make sure that people have direct power and impact on policymaking and politics. So this was my simple idea. And this is what I've been doing for the last 3 years. And it took many manpower to make this possible. But with the AI, it has become super easy and fast. So let me show you how the process goes and how we use the AI to scale up. Yeah, but before we go into the details, we realize that we are doing a really dangerous thing, right? We are bringing AI, not human intelligence, but artificial intelligence to politics, and it's potentially disruptive. So we thought we need some principles to adhere to. So just like human in politics, AI can be anything. Human politicians can be dictator or a representative that represents us, citizens. Yeah, the same thing applies to AI. AI could be a dictator that tells us what to do, but at the same time, it can be a representative that represents us. So I wanted to make sure that AI doesn't go rogue, doesn't go like as a dictator that tells us what to do or tells us what's right or wrong, but I want to limit it to represent us. So the first principle that we came up with was AI must represent everyone's opinions, not its own opinion. And the second one is people should be able to change AI's representative choice. So when AI actually recommends or even make a decision on behalf of us, it may misunderstood me, or I may have changed. Because the world changes so fast, and so do we. So I always should have a power to override their decision. And also the third one is AI should be explained why it made such a decision and such recommendation. So that with the transparency, we can trust the AI. And with these three principles in mind, we are automating our process using ChatGPT right now. So we use the ChatGPT API to utilize it and automate it, like the entire process. So first step is analyzing the news cycles. So the AI reads all the news titles, and then I asked the AI to extract top political phrases, topic phrases, and AI read all these titles and then came up with these 3 phrases, right? And as an example, I took the first one, a judicial overhaul protest in Israel. And second step, I asked AI to summarize all the news cycles around it. And it came up with, it actually added like a lot of emoticons because I told it to be kind and easy to understand and fun. And then it added a bunch of emojis and also made key points. And also it wrote diverse perspectives. So hey, opponents think in this way, and then there are people who are against it, and then they think in this way. And also it wrote a summary. So it takes hours for a human being to write this kind of like summary. And it's actually pretty hard to come up with all these like right emojis for the topics. Yeah, and so AI could do this in like 30 seconds. And after that, we also asked ChatGPT to come up with intriguing questions so that people can engage. And the top one, the bold one, is the prompt. So write a question that can check political stance about the issue. So one thing that I want to note is that this prompt was actually written by ChatGPT itself. So I asked, hey, I want to ask a political question. Can you make a prompt to prompt you how to make these political questions? And then ChatGPT came up with this prompt. And so using the prompt that ChatGPT gave me, I just used it to make a question, and then AI actually came up with this question, the user whose judicial overhaul plan, and then proponents' ideas and opponents' thoughts. And once they crafted the engaging questions using the AI, so we have this app. It's coming to the US probably this month or next. Yeah, and currently it's only for Korea. And we are So we have this app, and then we ask the question on the app, so people just come and answer the questions with O or X. That's how our company name originated, OXO Politics. So that's also politics. And so we visualize, so then we actually like put people into political tribes after a short test, a political science test. And then people are put into different tribes. The tiger tribe is the left wing, and the lion tribe is the right wing. And yeah, between them there's a hippo, elephant, and dinosaur. Yeah. So yeah, and with that, we can actually ensure that we have a diverse perspective for these answers. And we visualize the data, and we deliver these to the news media and politicians with the AI report. And the news media can make right reports on this. And also, politicians can make decisions based on this. And now the liquid democracy. This is our next step. Okay. So liquid democracy, as Young-sun actually introduced, is a way to change how we actually select the representatives and how they represent us. So currently, we have an election like every 4 years, and then we choose the people who will represent us. But they are representing so many people and people have so many different interests. And so it's not always the case that my representatives' words really represent me. So liquid democracy changes this. I can delegate my vote, or I can actually split it for my economic issues. I choose the person A. And person A, you can just represent me on comments. And for political issues, I choose person B. And so in the middle, you can see this person, the second layer, has 3 votes. So when the person votes, it's 3 votes, it represents 3 people. And in turn, they can delegate it further so that the final person here can have 8 votes. And it can change real time. That's why it's called liquid democracy. And now, at this point with the AI, do these middlemen have to be human? Just imagine there's an AI that understands me better than myself, and analyze my interests. It's like, hey, you have a house, and then this man doesn't like it's gonna raise property tax. And I didn't know this man, this politician had that policy, but AI knows, and AI knows that I have a house. So I recommend you not to vote for this person, but instead vote for this person. So it could be a scary story, or at the same time, it could really speak for my interests. Right? So this. And so this is a liquid democracy with AI assistance. So also politics is currently working on developing this into reality, and also doing this, we're gonna adhere to the 3 principles that I mentioned earlier, and make sure that this doesn't make us be ruled by the AI. Thank you very much.
Well, for that enlightening and very unique and I think thought-provoking platform. Thank you. So at this point, we will turn to our Q&A portion of the discussion. And as moderator, I will just to begin and start the discussion, I'll ask one question to our speakers. So for Minister Park, so thinking about digital democracy, not just in South Korea, but the potential applications for worldwide, as you think we've discussed, it seems to me that there is a paradox in AI technologies in the public sector. That is to say, the digital platform that's designed to capture all public opinion, the whole population, as we said, and so create perfect transparency, can ironically often lead to opacity, right? So what do you see as the major challenges for safeguarding the public from the potential misuse of AI technology?
Yeah, this is a very important question, but very complicated. So
Apologies.
from now on, translate to Korean. Yeah. I think there are 5 AI ethical principles. First one is a transparency. Transparency must have to how make the algorithm and then system and then everybody understand. The second one is safety.
You're supposed to speak in Korean now. It's really hard to switch back.
safety, 안전의 문제는 인간의 인간들한테 위협을 느끼지 않도록 하는 그런 장치가 필요하다.
Second one is about the safety. It is to make people feel that they are safe.
The third one is a responsibility. 그러니까 책임감. 이 책임감의 문제는 AI가 오류를 범하거나 아니면 뭔가 수정을 해야 될 때 그런 데 대해서 책임을 질 수 있어야 돼요.
Third one is responsibility. So when AI makes mistakes or problems, it has to be responsible for its mistakes.
The fourth one is fairness. 이 fairness는 인간들이 편견을 갖거나 아니면 차별을 하거나 성별에 대해서 구별을 짓거나 하는 이런 부분에 있어서 AI가 이 부분을 하면 안 된다.
So the fourth one is about fairness. So there could be some bias or discrimination. So we should be sure that AI won't do this discrimination and also bias.
Last one is goodwill. 그러니까 우리가 AI들을 이렇게 기술을 개발하는 것은 결국은 인간 사회를 개선시키기 위한 그런 선의를 가지고 해야 된다는 5가지의 원칙이 필요합니다.
The last one is the goodwill. AI has to contribute to the goodness of the human society, for the development of human society.
그러나 역사적으로 봤을 때 인간은 늘 그 편리함과 신속함이 이런 어떤 기술의 발전에 의한 단점을 앞서왔습니다. 극복해왔습니다.
In human history, convenience and speed outpace shortcomings of technological development.
1, 2차 산업혁명 당시에는 기계의 자동화가 인간의 근육을 대신했습니다.
For example, in the first and second industrial revolution, automation of machinery, which replaced human muscles.
그래서 인간에게 노동의 자유가 만들어졌고 또 여성 해방이라는 역사적인 일을 만들 수 있었습니다.
So it enabled the freedom of labor and female liberation.
인터넷이 나타났을 때도 여러 가지 윤리적인 문제들이 제기됐었습니다.
Also, after the advent of the internet, ethical problems continued.
그러나 지금 우리는 그러한 많은 단점에도 불구하고 이제는 인간의 근육이 아닌 인간의 두뇌를 대신하는 인공지능 시대로 빨려 들어가고 있습니다.
However, we are entering the era of artificial intelligence, which substitutes human brain rather than human muscle.
그래서 기술의 발전을 도외시하면 늘 기술의 발전과 함께 권력의 이동이 시작이 됐습니다.
So, if we ignore the development of technology, the problems raised, and for example, the problem of power transition.
그래서 이 기술의 발전과 함께 항상 패권 국가가 바뀌어왔습니다.
So with this technological development, hegemony changed throughout the human history.
한 가지 예를 들면 자동차 산업은 영국에서 시작이 됐지만 영국이 자동차를 마차보다 빨리 가지 못하게 하는 붉은 깃발법을 만들면서 자동차 산업이 미국으로 넘어왔습니다.
So the car industry started in the UK, but UK came up with the Red Flag Act. So the hegemon of this automatic industry moved to US.
그 얘기를 해줘야 돼요. 그 마차보다 빨리 못
Yeah, because the speed of the problem, it was slower than the wagon.
Yeah, that's a important point. Yeah. 그래서 우리는 이 기술의 발달을 갖다가 항상 그 인간의 존엄성을 지키는 방향으로 정부와 기업과 전문가와 학자가 모두 모여서 이것을 우리가 함께 긍정적인 방향으로 생각해야 된다라고 생각합니다.
Therefore, ethical issues have to overcome with the collaborative efforts from the government, academics, experts, and companies while maintaining human dignity.
Thank you so much for that comprehensive answer to a very complex question. So the next one to Will, I will promise to make it less complex. So I have one question just to start us off. What are your thoughts around transparency about not only your company system that you develop, but just AI systems and data and kind of this code, right? Around, should the information be made available for algorithmic accountability, and what would that look like, right? In the future. And where do you see the major barriers?
Yeah, so the easiest approach to ensure the transparency is just providing the raw data to everyone. And that's one way to ensure the transparency, but at the same time, it's really it's not really effective way because everyone to look at the data and then dissect it by themselves. So for some people, it's really useful, but so that's why we actually do data visualization in so many different ways. We can dissect the data by political stance, like the political tribes, or the age group, or the geolocation, so that we can find out why this a conclusion was wrong, and then based on what statistics its AI is thinking. Or it's not just about AI, but even for the data itself, data politics, and how we actually draw conclusions based on statistics. Yeah, these dissecting the data and then make different visualizations is really important.
Thank you. So at this point, I will turn it to the audience. It will take, please state who you are and ask your question in a succinct manner. Thank you.
Thanks all for a very insightful presentation. So I'm Atsushi, currently a student at Harvard Kennedy School. And I have a question to Minister Park about the Japan-Korea bilateral relationship, although this is a little bit specific point. So under the current UN administration of Korea, the bilateral relationship has been improving rapidly. And in relation to that, I'd like to know your thoughts about how Japan and Korea could develop a stable tie in the long term as key partners to maintain and further promote democracy in Asia. So what the current and future challenges and how could we overcome it, considering domestic politics in both countries and emerging technologies you talked about? Thank you.
원래 가까운 나라가 친하게 지내기가 참 쉽지 않습니다.
So normally it's very hard to get good relations with the neighbor countries.
그런데 지금은 그 한미일 삼국의 그 굉장한 어떤 그 연대가 중요한 시기로 다가오고 있습니다.
So I think that the solidarity between US, Korea, and Japan is very important.
그래서 저는 한일 간의 어떤 관계와 관련해서는 민간이 중심이 되지만 정부도 함께하고 학자들도 함께하는 독러 대화와 같은 그런 기구가 필요하다라고 생각합니다.
So I think that Korean relations, I think the private sector should be the center, but also the government academics would also be the part of this relations.
독일과 러시아는 동러 대화라는 어떤 공식 기구를 가지고 매년 여러 가지 그 문제들을 서로 대화를 나누는데 앞으로 한일 관계에서도 그런 것이 필요하지 않을까.
For example, Germany and Russia has annual German-Russian dialogue. So I think that for Korea, we could also make a Korea-Japan dialogue.
Thanks for sharing your insights, Mr. Park and Will. My name is Sun Kim. I'm a PhD student here at Harvard. From both of your presentations, it seems pretty promising to utilize artificial intelligence in politics, particularly in collecting public opinion data and increasing citizen engagement. But AI poses also a serious concern on spread of very highly convincing mis and disinformation. So I would like to hear both of your views on how to control or combat this spread of misinformation or even miscollecting the noise.
So about the misinformation, so there's like the hallucination effect that ChatGPT like blatantly lies with and shamelessly make some misinformation and deliver them to users. And the technical way to overcome it is actually providing the exact statistics to ChatGPT when I prompt it. So ChatGPT is like trained with a crazy amount of data, but it doesn't necessarily like use like specific statistics or specific research to draw its conclusion. So how we do it is we have statistics that's like collected on our app, and also there are many like research results and statistics outside of Socrates app. So we bring the data into the prompt and then ask ChatGPT, based on this information, what's your like a summary or what's your, so we don't even like ask its like opinion, but summarize it and then present it in a nice way so that people can understand better. And also we make sure that what statistics it's like summary is based on. So we are always like refer to the original documents. And that's how we overcome this like hallucination effect.
Very insightful, presentation from both. So I'm Ken from Japan. Actually, I was serving as a diplomat in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Japan in the division in charge of relations between Japan and the Republic of Korea. So I know there's there's a very difficult time to build a relationship within the the neighboring country as well. But this is a little bit different from that perspective. I want to ask a question to Mr. Will, obviously of the Office of Politics. So if my understanding is right, following the idea of elected democracy, we would be able to decide on representatives to whom we delegate our views in different policy areas, and the will of the people would be more accurately reflected in the running of the country. But what about this example? Taking Japanese politics as an example, let's say that making a decision on defense policy, the majority of the public wants to increase defense spending and improve national defense, and this is decided by the representatives as national policy reason. At the same time, when making a decision on social security policy, the majority of the public also wants to increase social security spending because they do not want to be poor in the old age. And this is also decided as a national policy by the diet. Then what about the problem of the totally inadequate budget? These two policies are really compatible. It's also very difficult to make it compatible and require last minute budget adjustment. But if liquid democracy is used, when the government cease to function because all policy decisions would be based on ideals from the general public. So they wanted to do that, all now that they wanted to do that. So these are kind of friction. So how do you solve this issue by using the AI, for example? How do you manage the kind of a conflict between the people's, demand in different topics?
For the question, I actually don't think it's about AI and AI. It's something that AI can solve because it's about like, are you gonna listen to the president's choice or the people's choice? It's like the president can make a really unpopular decisions, and maybe he believes for the future of the nation, and maybe he's right or maybe he's wrong. But the principle of democracy is following people's ideas. And yeah, it's more about like political philosophy. So yeah, you can eventually choose. It's just working at how the democracy works country, right? You can choose to listen to like public opinion, or you can choose to listen to some powerful person who believes this is the right future. And yeah, so I don't think AI can solve this because humans should still have power in choosing what direction and who to listen to.
Actually, just to follow up, because I think this is a really important point, and to differentiate what AI is doing and what is up to the one side through the delegation of the data that's presented, right, through this vehicle. So I think one sort of difference that in political scientists look at in terms of public opinion and partisan affiliation is the difference between what is the entire whole public opinion in terms of left, right, traditional left, right ideology, as you say, philosophy. What does that look like in a polity versus the elites, let's call them leaders, right? And or the partisan affiliated individuals, which are often the interest groups or whoever else is sort of in those camps that advocate for certain policy positions, right? So I think correct me if I'm wrong, I think what you're trying to do is find out what the whole public opinion is, regardless of their partisan identity, which often pits, right, parties. In this case, there are two large parties in Korea, in part because of the electoral system.
Yes.
So is that kind of what you're trying to do?
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is that it's beyond the AI. It's a human area, and it's a matter of like, do we want to follow smart people? Do we want to follow powerful people? Do we want to follow the public opinion?
Gentleman in the center.
Mine will be very quick and short. My name is Mohan Han. I'm teaching economics at Western University. I was very impressed by both of these presentations. It was so thoughtful and I learned a lot. Thank you. My question is, what can humans do in the future? Like, she's gonna be a sooner or later. She's gonna be a professor later. I am. Okay, thanks God. I'm always a professor. 10 years later, we need any professors, researchers, like what human can do. In my raw imagination, oh, politicians, we don't need it. We don't need them. Okay, what we need is maybe cook. We need janitors. We need to cook. Because they know how to make a great food. AI knows how to combine great Scotch whiskey and everything. All we can do is just serving as a bartender. What can we do? That's my question. In the future, what can humans do?
Okay. It's a very important question. 그런데 그렇게 우리가 지금 상상하지만 실제로 일은 그렇게 되지 않는다고 생각합니다.
So we might imagine that that might happen, but actually I think it won't happen like that.
제가 중소벤처기업부 장관을 하면서 스마트 팩토리를 굉장히 많이 만들었습니다.
So when I was working as a minister for SMEs and startups, I made a lot of smart factories.
그런데 스마트 팩토리를 만들게 되면 모든 사람들이 일자리를 잃을 거라고 반대하는 사람들도 상당히 많이 있었어요.
But there were a lot of objections that if we make smart factories, a lot of people will lose their jobs.
그러나 실질적으로 결과는 그렇게 일어나지 않았습니다.
But in reality, it didn't happen. People didn't lose their jobs.
왜냐하면 최종적인 점검을 하는 사람은 결국은 인간이기 때문에.
It's because it is the human who does the final verification, final confirmation.
대신 인간은 예를 들어서 이 컵에 뚜껑이 제대로 잘 만들어졌는지 안 만들어졌는지를 스마트 팩토리가 만들어지기 전에는 인간이 제대로 확인할 수 없습니다.
So before the smart factory, for example, the bottle cap, people couldn't see it's exactly made perfect fit or not.
그런데 그래서 인간이 이것이 정확하게 만들어졌는지를 검증하는데 많은 시간을 투자해야 했었습니다.
So people had to put a lot of time to verify that it perfectly fits the bottle.
그러나 스마트 팩토리가 만들어진 다음에는 이 점검을 AI가 하기 때문에 인간이 많은 시간을 절약할 수 있게 됐습니다.
So people could save a lot of time because the AI verified the size of the cap. So it gave a lot of time for the people.
대신 그러면 인간은 무엇을 하느냐? 인간은 그 시간에 이것이 최종적으로 잘 됐는지를 점검하면서 very short time에 점검하면서.
So what people do in a very short time, people do the final review and final confirmation that works.
노동 시간이 줄어들면서 또 더 우리가 즐길 수 있는 다른 일을 하게 되고 생산성은 더 많이 올라가기 때문에 기업의 입장에서는 오히려 스마트 팩토리를 만들면서 사람을 해고시키지 않아도 되는 결과를 갖고 오는 것입니다.
So at the same time, the people at the workforce could do some creative or constructive works. So the company employer doesn't have to fire people.
정치도 마찬가지입니다. 정치인이 필요 없다? 그렇지 않을 것이라고 저는 생각합니다.
So in the politics is same. I don't think that in the future politician would be not needed.
예를 들면 지금 그 여론조사를 통해서 클러스터링을 하는데 과거에 이런 챗 GPT가 나오기 전에는 이 클러스터링을 하는데 굉장히 많은 시간이 필요했습니다. 한 적어도 이틀 정도의 시간이 필요했습니다.
Before when serving the opinion poll, it took like at least 2 days to cluster.
클러스터링.
Cluster.
그러나 지금 챗 GPT가 나와서 이것을 1분에 해결합니다.
So ChatGPT can do it in 1 minute.
그러면 나는 약 이틀이라는 시간을 내가 벌 수 있게 되는 거죠.
So I can save 2 days.
그럼 그 2시간 동안, 이틀 동안 나는 뭘 하느냐? 다른 일을 또 생각하는 거죠.
So with the save 2 days, I can do other creative things.
그래서 계속해서 시스템이 발전해 나간다고 저는 그렇게 믿고 있습니다.
So I think that like this, the system will evolve.
I can add to it. As an entrepreneur and the CEO of my company, so these we have 3 content writers, and their job was to write contents and summarize these cycles and we go through these cycles. And now it's automated. And what do? We fire them, we let them go, and it's really tempting. But actually at the same time, if we let them go, we're just staying at 1x performance, right? We are not improving in performance. Okay, company-wide. But if we keep them and then let them do like some other stuff, then we are actually like, we are improving the performance of my company to like 3x, 10x, right? So that's what you want to see. And eventually, like, like when my company goes 10x, my like competing company will want to go 11x, right? Or 12x or 20x. So it's the nature of, capitalism that we want to, when other companies improve their performance, we don't want to stay at like 1x performance and fire all the people, but we want to actually make, multiply our performance. So I think eventually the development of technology and AI will make our growth, like economic growth and then technological growth really, really fast. But it doesn't necessarily mean that we're gonna like fire most of the people.
One, and we can only take one more.
Okay, so one more.
Accept.
Can shout out. So just a quick follow-up question. Wait a second. Just a quick question, because I was just curious to follow up on the current discussion, because it was more questioning on the use of AI. But I'm more curious about the concerns we might have input, the data input. And like right now, we are having a lot of concerns all over the world regarding disinformation. So I'm curious, like both from the policy perspective as well as the startup, how do you think about mitigating the danger of disinformation, especially if we are using AI to eventually have less hands-on in the process of evaluating whether the data is correct or not, and now using ChatGPT, for example, to run the entire process for us and give us a clean visualization of what might not be the truth of what the public wants if there's a lot of disinformation.
So I actually do think it's kind of like a myth right now that AI cannot deliver the true information. It's only because the AI is trained on so much data, as I mentioned before, and all the big data is all mixed up in its brain, AI brain, and then it doesn't really know like what it got the idea from. But when you actually transparently provide the underlying data, and then make its job be based on that specific data set, then it won't lie actually. It's not like when there's data, you can actually make up like other things, but it's like human, like when we actually don't have the data in front of us, and then when you're asked to make some judgments out of blue, then you may actually lie. You may you may actually recall like some wrong information from like 10 years ago, and then to speak for it and speak with it, and then it's not that different from that. So the solution again is have the concrete data and really verified data, and then feed the verified data to it, and then it won't lie and it won't actually create misinformation. Yeah. That's what I can tell from my experience.
Thank you very much. One of the things I love about these events is that you can always tell if it's been a good event by the stream of questions that are gonna go over time. So thank you all very much. I want to thank you for making the time this afternoon to come. Obviously, much thanks to our speakers and interpreter as well. And most importantly, I would like to